Good evening and welcome. I'm April Woodard and welcome back to another episode of Conversations in Chaos. You know, with the new normal becoming a virtual atmosphere, today we are going to hear from two of our guests who use their gifts to add color to the online world. Some are saying that it feels a little black and white, but these artists are using their pen and using lines of their body, and their talent can be portrayed through various mediums that can elevate the feeling of kind of just being stuck in that computer. This is Conversations in Chaos, the art of expression. Welcome again. I'm April Woodard, and I'd like to welcome artists Sekou and Tashara Gavin-Moorehead. Hey, you guys, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I'd like to thank you guys all for being here. I know you're on the West Coast, Tashara, in a heat wave with the energy, trying not to use a lot of energy and everything. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today as we kind of continue to push through very difficult times. I want to talk to Sekou for a minute, and then I'm going to come back to you, Tashara. My first guest, we're trying to still figure out how we met, but he is a producer, a playwright, an author, a journalist. Sekou, he's known for his artistic storytelling and writing, and his most recent project is entitled Brown Boy Mad. It's sort of autobiographical. It's a stage play that tackles a conversation of racism in America, and it's been performed at Fisk University. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Oh, I got something for you.
Dear white man.
Dear white man, doing it.
Right, you.
Yeah.
Yep, in the back.
Yeah.
Right there. Behind the chips. Right there. Hell no. And I was like, yay!
Diamond in the back, sun rooftop, dig in the sea with a gangster lead. Hey, oh, hey.
The way you make me feel. Brown boy, mad.
All right, Sekou. Okay, you had me singing old school songs, right?
Yeah. I always get a kick out of seeing that trailer. It just reminds me of how good those students were. So shout out to the students at Fisk University, the Fisk University Stagecrafters. They did a great job.
Yeah, but I know you're a Morehouse man. So what made you take the play to Fisk?
Yeah, I've been getting hazed a little bit. So it wasn't on purpose. I just happened to be in Nashville, which is where I am now, sheltering in place, when COVID happened. And so I didn't want to lose momentum on the play, which I'd already begun just before COVID. And so I reached out to Fisk and I told them that I had this play, and I've got a very deep history with Fisk. I taught a class there when I was promoting my first book, and my mom, my aunt, my grandfather, and my grandfather's, both of his parents, all graduated from Fisk. So that's 5 people in my family that graduated from Fisk. So deep family roots there. And I reached out to them and said, hey, I got this project and I want to do something with it. I don't want to lose momentum. And so that created what you just saw, that staged reading of Brown Boy Mad here in Nashville at Fisk University.
That's so funny because I have a history with Fisk. I was born in Nashville, and my dad actually used to work at Fisk University, I guess when I was about this big. So,
wow. We overlap in some way for sure.
For sure. All right. Well, I want to make room for our next guest. She's a woman who uses no words to tell stories, but uses the gift of dance to touch the lives of many. Tashara Gavin-Moorehead is a professional dancer, choreographer, and dance educator who graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University. Let's take a look at one of her pieces.
I won't dance, and I rise up, I rise like the day, I rise up, I rise unafraid, I rise up.
Oh, that was beautiful. And actually, that was performed at Favor Nation, my church. Tashara, how are you doing?
Yes, I love that piece. It's such
I
a
love that one. And the one you did to Whitney Houston too. Oh my gosh. You got to go on YouTube and check it out at Favor Nation's YouTube page. That was amazing. And I was just so excited because I used to be a dancer and I love the Lord, but I was like, I need someone who has got that real technique and that skill and that passion. So talk to me about your passion. When did you realize that you were gifted in dancing?
well, my mom started me in ballet at like age 5, but I don't believe that it really kicked in until about 3rd or 4th grade when I wanted something especially for me and to just know that I was paving like my own path. And I remembered being inspired by the book Catherine Dunham in elementary school, and I saw that she was dancing and she was using music and storytelling, and she was traveling the world, and I was like, that's me. That's what I want to do. And so I committed, at that age to like pave my future like a Catherine Dunham sort of style.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. Now you're actually going to be teaching others to dance as well, right?
Yes, and I look forward to giving it more of a cultural sense because I believe that dance is a reflection of our cultural identity and it's a reflection of the spirit that we have within us. So going deeper than just looking pretty or exercising, dance has a connection to spirit, to culture, to humanity. And I want to continue that conversation with dance, that it's an embodied practice of all these complex, thoughts and feelings that we have as humans.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to bring Sekou in too, so we can all talk about, the ability to be able to express yourselves. So, we're all going through COVID. We're all dealing with the social injustices that have been going on lately. With limited exposure to other people and maybe even not a platform to perform. How have you guys been doing?
Just in general, I've been doing, I think, better than most. Like, it just so happened that I began Brown Boy Mad right before COVID hit. So I was already achieving what they call positive life momentum. I was already in motion and I had a place to put my energy, both in terms of COVID, but also in terms of George Floyd, in terms of race relations and Black Lives Matter. I had a vehicle to put all my energy. So that's been very beneficial to me.
Let me ask you, Sekou, because we met in New York, at least we think we met in New York. What is it like being down south during this time, especially in Nashville?
Yeah, so it's different. But what I've decided to do is focus on what I'm doing and not so much worry about what everybody else is doing. There was a period of time when they were calling Nashville No Maskville. That's a little scary. That's a little scary. But I've just been trying to focus on what I can do. And what I can do is work through my creative gifts and spread joy and love that way.
And Tashara, what impact has COVID-19 had on your art?
It's been, I think, challenging, but I've been enjoying the challenge. Dance is best done when it's in a social setting, when there's, people face to face. But I think for me personally, it has challenged me to use dance with technology and using video crafting to still push out that message. I've been finding that people have been more accessible to dance because we're posting more via the internet. And so people are finding their way to dance platforms and finding it easier to take class because maybe sometimes the pressure of being in a live class, people get really afraid of, or embarrassed. But if you get to take class in the privacy of your own home, it kind of alleviates some of those insecurities. So I feel that for me, it has been a joy in navigating this new platform and putting dance inside of, a computer and inside of your own home. My creativity for, since the pandemic has been pushed because of being in grad school and just having to you got to find a way to finish it, and you got to create the piece regardless. The show must go on.
Right. And I was going to ask you about that too. You're getting your MFA. How is that program going? And are you back in school? Are you doing it virtually? And how do you do a MFA virtually in dance?
That is the question that I am in. It's going creatively. I think there's a lot of theory work, so more, deepening the practice of why you're moving, what is the impact that you want from that, and just investigating that deeper. And lots of self-discipline and keeping your instrument, your body fine-tuned for that. And we are choreographing inside your own home or outside. Outside dancing, site-specific work has been, getting more traction, more momentum again. And, if there is a point in time where you can feel comfortable with practicing face-to-face, you're doing it with a mask and hopefully doing some social distancing. I myself have been doing some rehearsals that require, a mask, but, just one-on-one so that you can keep that space. But it has been very interesting solving the Rubik's Cube of it all.
I'm sure the ones that are working on their masters this year, particularly in areas like dance, are always going to remember this, because they probably should get 2 degrees, because it's going to be a lot more challenging than, the structured, you're in-house, you're choreographing, you're around everybody. There are really some limitations on you. So tell them I said give you 2 degrees.
Tell them.
Okay. And you were speaking about wearing masks, and I imagine that's challenging and trying to be able to breathe, etc. I know, Sekou, you recently put together a program called Unmasked, and I want to check it out first, and then we'll talk on the other side.
Sure.
They could pull you over anytime for almost anything.
Next time, do not go for the glove box so quick. That's how people get shot.
When I got out the car, they yelled at me to put my hands on the hood of the car.
The officer's hands, and his hands were shaking like this.
But he hit me, and he hit me hard.
They policed our eyes.
It was 18 hours before I even saw a lawyer.
I was treated like I didn't have rights.
Which I found out to be a little, strange.
No matter how successful my family was, it didn't matter.
Very, very powerful. So obviously what's been happening, social justice and George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all of those incidents that happened, was that what inspired this? And talk to me a little bit about the people that you have talking in the piece.
So this happened really organically. I didn't have a plan. So what happened is I put out Brown Boy Mad as a film, and we got to talk about that because that was not part of the plan. That was the Rubik's Cube that Tashara was talking about, just trying to figure it out. So we put it out as a film because we couldn't gather in theaters. And some of my friends back in New York were like, hey, we saw Brown Boy Mad and we were talking about our experiences with the police, our experiences driving while black. Can you do anything with them? And I said, yes, knowing what I would do. And they started talking to me about the things that happened to them. And I was like, you know what? This would be good on video. Send me a video. And the first one I got was from a friend of mine who had told me this story before. And so the story, as he told it to me, was hilarious. And so the first couple sentences of the story, I was like, oh, I'm about to laugh. This is that story he always tells. And then it was not funny at all because somehow being in the car, just talking to the camera, unmasked him, not just literally, but figuratively. Like he shed that layer of trying to be funny and trying to put up a barrier. And I realized that there was something there. And so that's how the name came about, because we're taking off the mask that grins and lies, as Paul Laurence Dunbar wrote back in the 1800s. So we're taking off the COVID mask, but also the figurative mask. And then I just started asking for submissions, and I got more and more submissions. I finished what I'm calling season 1. I've got 10 episodes up on Facebook, and I've begun season 2. And I'm just amazed at all these stories and how powerful they are.
Yeah, I mean, while you were describing, I was getting goosebumps because it really is powerful. And the fact that it's in black and white too, was that done artistically?
Yeah, so what I was trying to do was strip everything away. Strip away the music, strip away the color, and just leave the stories raw and real right there. And that wasn't how the first episode was. I had, I had music on there and had all these layers. But then I stripped it down so it could be more raw. And you saw that I was in there too. I was inspired by the experience because I had a formative experience when I bought my first car, which was the basis for Brown Boy Mad, actually. And I always kind of use the protection of spoken word to talk about it. Like, that's my barrier, that's my mask. And so when the submissions started coming in, I said, well, what happens if I get in the car and I just talk about what happened? And it was really powerful and moving, and I didn't expect to say what I said. And so it's powerful on a lot of different levels, and that's why it's in black and white. It's just raw and real.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's turn to Brown Boy Mad. Tell me about the inspiration of that and it being autobiographical.
Yeah, so the situation I just referenced, I'll start with that. So when I was 19, I bought my first car. I was in college at Morehouse. And the first time I sat in the car, the very first time I sat in the car, I was accosted by the police and almost beaten with billy clubs. And that was a traumatizing experience, of course. And it took me many years to talk about it, to tell anybody about it, including my parents, including the people who were around me at the time. And so it was many years later that I wrote about it. And then after I wrote about it, I performed it as spoken word, as a spoken word piece. And I'll tell this story. I performed it in Boston, and my dad was in the audience. And I hadn't thought about the fact that I hadn't told him what happened. Because I bought the car from his next door neighbor. So he saw me that day, but I didn't tell him what happened, right? So it was years later, and I'm performing this piece, and it was in the middle of the show, and we had a few more pieces to go. And I read that poem, and my dad just got up, walked on stage, and hugged me. And the whole show had to stop while we held each other. And then that's when I realized, oh, he hasn't heard this story except for just now. And so that poem became the linchpin of what is now known as Brown Boy Mad. I built all these other poems and monologues onto that, all my personal experiences, all my experiences with racism over the years. And now we have this play called Brown Boy Mad.
Oh my gosh, that is an amazing story. And I mean, I can only imagine going through that experience of the excitement of getting your first car, being a young man at Morehouse, a Morehouse man, and then dealing with such trauma and not telling anybody about it. And then your dad hearing it for the first time on stage. I mean, that's just, you can't recreate that moment. It's just an incredible moment that blends artistry and emotion and all of that together. That is just an incredible story. It really, really is. Tashara, I want to turn to you and just talk to you about your path. I was a ballet dancer a long time ago, but I was always called athletic. That was the nice way of saying that my legs were a little bit too big or I was a little bit too muscular. And, Misty Copeland talks about the struggle she had being a Black ballerina and being the first prima ballerina in the American Ballet Theater. Are there any struggles or challenges that you have had as a young Black dancer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, most of the places I was in, I was the fewer of a group of women of color or dancers of color. And what I believe in my heart now is that finally there is a reckoning coming in the dance field with the recent protests and acknowledgement of what we know systemically has been, happening throughout our country's existence. But it's finally coming into the dance field's awareness more and more about decolonizing the curriculum, making sure that ballet is not at the center of what dance is, and including the jazz and the modern and the African diaspora dance forms that, and Latin based, just anything that's cultural is being included, as well as knowing that there are going to be different body types that enter the field and that all of them are valuable, ranging from color, muscularity to people who may have disabilities. All of that is just being included now, or we're trying to get that more as a focus in the field so that when students come in, they're not met with some of those similar things that were maybe said to you were said to me about having bigger thighs and, flat feet, and those microaggressions are leaving our conversation, and Black students are not being pushed only to, African diaspora dance forms that they can do. We can't do ballet, it just depends on what is in your heart. It should be about the integrity of what the spirit and what the personality wants to do, not being limited to the shade or your facility. So yeah, and I think that those beginnings of maybe being in a less predominant, numerically community in some of my dance classes has shaped it so that I am very intentional on creating spaces where diversity and inclusion matter and that we're all represented.
I've been stalking you on social media. In a recent post, Tashara, you said this quote, "It's an artist's duty to reflect the times in which we live," to quote by Nina Simone. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think, Sekou, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm also a former dancer. I didn't want y'all leaving me out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all trying to shade me. Y'all trying to shade me.
Well, what kind of dance did you do?
Ballet, ballet, yeah. So when I was a kid growing up in Boston, my parents sent me to the Elma Lewis School of Fine Arts. It was an all-Black school, and I was doing ballet, and I was good. And I remember the Boston Ballet came for auditions for the Nutcracker.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I got this. I did very well. And then I didn't get picked. And I was upset about that. And then my parents took me to the performance, and I saw the performance. I was like, oh, none of them look like me.
None.
Oh, so that's why they didn't pick me, because I was better than everyone else in my audition. And that was one of my first lessons about race.
I know your taste and your pirouettes were on point.
I was doing it.
Splits and everything.
I was still doing my first position, third position. I had it.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, but it was also a powerful lesson about race, like you're saying, Tashara.
Yeah, and it's our duty now as African descent people, Black people, whatever name we prefer for ourselves, but to make sure that we are performing and giving, our next generation of artists the inspiration that we do exist and we are here. They can see us, and it will hopefully, give them hope that they can do it. And they absolutely should be on stage. They absolutely should be on television. And with Nina's quote, that was a quote that I found. Well, not I found. I was made aware of dancing with Deeply Rooted Dance Theater with Kevin Iega-Jeff and Gary Abbott. And in one of the pieces, they used Nina's voice in a section, and they really had us meditate on that. The artist's duty is to reflect the times. And I feel that is true, that especially for Black artists, that we have to include our voices and how the times are reflecting ourselves and how we're going to drive that into our work. So for me, my work right now is reflecting empowerment, that I'm driving the conversation forward. I'm using the past as a way to guide me in creating Black spaces where we feel safe, feel confident and worthy. So yeah.
So I'm interested in hearing if you all have any advice for people out there who are trying to, express themselves during this time. A lot of people, even former First Lady Michelle Obama said she's going through a low-grade depression. A lot of people are dealing with feeling kind of sad and down. And so what would you suggest for artists who, aren't able to get the gigs that they used to get, who aren't making the money they used to make, who don't have the applause? Because we live for that, because we know that we're bringing our art to the world when people cheer us on and make us feel that they appreciate what we're doing. Sekou, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say in regards to advice for people.
Sure. The advice that I would give is find the thing that feeds you in another way, like in a bigger way. So if you are using your creativity for paid gigs, let's say, what is the thing that feeds you like internally, that charges you up, or that helps you give back? Because, for example, Brown Boy Mad is a project that I haven't made money off of. And it is the fastest moving thing that I've ever done. And when I performed it at Fisk University, we did 2 stage readings there. I donated 100% of the proceeds back to Fisk. So it's not that there hasn't been revenue, it's just that I've been willing to give the revenue away because I feel like the work is important. And so the continuation of the work is more important than the revenue. And if you can find something that affects you that way, that will feed you throughout this transitionary period that we're in, however long it lasts.
And I guess I'll add to that.
Jump in.
Yeah. Lean into your friends and your peers. I have been so inspired by watching my friends produce work, and I've been excited to collaborate with them. Maybe it's because there's been incoming work, so you just have to make the work. And I feel that having friends or even family members, if you have them that you want to collaborate with, that this is the time now, and to just see even outside of your field, whatever thing that you've been wanting to do, I think this is the time to do it and to explore it without hesitation.
Absolutely.
Next that you're going to, or you want people to follow you?
There she is.
Sekou, do you have any projects that you have upcoming that you want people to follow you on?
I want people to follow me on these 2 projects. Like, these are very right now. These are my passion projects. They're both unexpected, and they both got legs. Brown Boy Mad is available on American Legacy Network. We just got picked up by a Black, shout it out, right? Clap it up. There's a Black video network, like a Black Netflix, and they just picked it up. So it's available to over 300,000 households. We're really excited about that.
Nice.
And just one more note about artistry on that point. It's not ready. Like the video of Brown Boy Mad is just from a camcorder we stuck at the back at the last minute. It was not shot with multiple angles. The sound quality is poor, but we put it out there anyway. And look what happened. We got picked up by this network.
Wow.
So, I think the lesson right there, it just came to me, now is better than perfect. And that, living by that has taught me a lot in this period. Now is always better than perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
I feel that. Now it's better than perfect. I feel that.
Because we spend so much time like creating our art. It's not ready. I don't want anyone to hear it. I don't want anyone to see it. Ooh, the audio's not quite right. But you got to get it out there to the world so they can see it and benefit from it. Right.
And on that same note, Brown Boy Mad was on my hard drive for almost 20 years.
What?
Yeah. It's been on my hard drive all this time. So this really is a period, this lockdown period for me is a period about embodying now is better than perfect. Let's go.
Yes. All right. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much. I so enjoyed talking to you, and thank you so much for being with me and sharing your stories. And, let's stay in touch. And Sekou, let's try to figure out how we originally met. Let's work on that a little bit. Okay.
We'll work on it.
And Tashara, I can't wait till you get back to the East Coast and we're back in church again and you can come perform for us because you just thrill us every time you perform.
And you know what? Maybe I just have to get on that video and we just send a link. You know, now we can do stuff without having to be there.
Absolutely. Right. We'll send you a camera and everything.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. And I want to thank you guys for joining us as well for these conversations in chaos. And just remember, you know, everything that's going on, it all starts with a conversation, even if it's in the midst of chaos. I'm April Woodard.